Hello friends! Imagine you're on the longest bicycle tour of your life and you have limited time, but everything's been going okay so far, except that it drained you physically. Now you're sick in the bed in a motel somewhere. It happened to me. My name is George Schlacek,
the one and only.
And this video is about a small part of my 2017 bicycle tour across Canada. It was Saturday, July 15th, 2017. I was in Little Current, Ontario, where I had arrived the previous afternoon suffering from a bad cold with a cough, stuffy sinuses, and a fever. Miraculously, when I woke up, I was still feeling the effects of the cold, but felt like I had recuperated enough to attempt the ride to the ferry, which was 65 kilometers. That was a ferry that would take me to the Bruce Peninsula. I started right away with packing away the camping gear that had been drying overnight. Then I made sandwiches with the supplies I had and ate a bunch of apples and trail mix. By the time I was ready to leave the motel, it was almost 11. Checkout time. Oh, I was off to a slow start. The wind was blowing from the wrong direction, and then there were the hills.
Look at those hills. Yeah, quite the climbs. Now, after about 3 days of really bad weather, really damp, which put me almost under the weather, sunshine is back. So I'm quite happy, but yeah, I gotta battle the hills today, and there isn't much of a shoulder to ride on.
The toughest part about the strong wind was actually not the slow travel, but the constant noise around my head. Even on some of the descents, my speed did not get past 20 kilometers an hour. I eventually reached a large rest area with a native art and convenience store right next to it. I really needed some energy, so I ate the rest of my granola bars and some more apples. I had plenty of apples because they had come in a 5-pound bag designated as naturally imperfect. I never knew that apples had to be perfect. Actually, I didn't even know that there was such a standard, so imperfect apples are my thing. No. Suddenly there was rain. For the moment, it was just a few drops, but other people at the rest area got busy packing up, and so did I. After another 15 kilometers, the rain had stopped, and the sun was peeking through the clouds again. I was hungry. At the turnoff for the village of Manitowaning, I decided to go and find a restaurant for a hot meal. The first one I stopped at was closed. Someone noticed me and said that it had been abandoned for a number of years. But there was a coffee house next door that advertised lunch, so I thought I'd try there. After trying to get my order in at the counter without any success, I sat down at one of the tables. There were menus and I had no trouble finding what I wanted, but there didn't seem to be anyone attending to the tables neither. Once again, I stepped up to the counter to get someone's attention. But there was another lady waiting now who had walked in a while after me. Staff was busy ignoring us both. Somehow my appetite was suddenly gone. This place had looked so inviting, but that had changed before I could get an order in. I sure don't want to be trouble for anyone, so I just left. The ride didn't get any easier on an empty stomach, but I had enough food in my panniers and soon found a guardrail, again, to lean my bike while I ate something. The wind didn't change at all, so the ride remained slow and tough, all the way to the ferry terminal to South Baymouth. On the way, I was passed by a lot of motorcycles. Some of them were as loud as a truck, and they had music blaring on top of that. I arrived about 4:15 and bought my ticket right away. I got a 10% discount because I had spent a night on Manitowaning Island. The ferry was scheduled for 5:50, so I had plenty of time for an early supper. There was a restaurant across the street. I went in and ordered a burger and coffee. This place was even busier than the one in Manitowaning. But the service was quick and friendly. What a difference. I got to sit on the patio from where I could keep an eye on my bike while enjoying the great food. Among the patrons were a group of motorbikers with gang-style attire displaying the name Ketut. I thought that was kind of funny, but the name also seemed to imply something. Were they just a bunch of motorcycle enthusiasts or more like a gang? As a cyclist, I don't know a lot about real bikers. Leave me a comment if you know about this biker club. I couldn't find anything online. I sometimes wonder about the cult around the motorcycles such as Harley Davidsons. Those bikes are among the noisiest vehicles on the road, right up there with big transport trucks. Yet, most only propel one rider and his or her gear. Bicycles do the same thing, but without any noise and even a motor, if a bit slower. Eventually, the ferry arrived and it was time to return to my bike. The waitress at the restaurant gave me another coffee and a to-go cup. A group of other cyclists on their weekend trip was already assembled there, and the motorcycle people were also lined up for the passage. The ferry ride was just under 2 hours. It was calm and very comfortable. I spent some of it walking around the outside decks before finding a seat indoors just to get out of the wind. Once I got off the ferry, I decided to inquire about camping at the local visitor center. I was guided toward Land's End Park, which was nearby. Once I arrived there, all the camping spots had been snapped up. At the rate of $58 for a tent site, with coin showers, the place should have been deserted. But this was a Saturday and people love their glamping. When I was told the campground was full, I decided to find my own campsite. But then a couple from South Carolina who had been on the same ferry and arrived just minutes before had got the last spot. They were still in the process of checking in when they overheard how I was being turned down. Was it okay to share a site? The man asked the receptionist. She said yes, and I was invited to share campsite. We shared the cost, which was a lot better than paying full price. I also had company during supper. My spot was ideal and I fell asleep quickly after settling down in my tent. Finally, camping again, and this time in a dry tent in an official campground. Yay! You might be wondering how I was feeling after having been so sick the previous day. Honestly, I was a lot better, but still not 100%. At least the fever had not returned and my sinuses were clearing up. 3 more days to get to Toronto. An easy ride from here on? Far from it, but I didn't know that yet. Join me for the next episode, out here next Saturday. Please give this video a thumbs up. Hey, and I also have an account on Buy Me a Coffee. So if you're inclined to help a small YouTuber grow, the link is down below. You can catch up on the entire tour by checking out this playlist.